Hi, Chapter 2, Time Value of Money. In this chapter we've learned about the time value of money, the present value, the future value, the annual payment, and we've learned about the compound interest rate and a simple interest rate. This video will explain Quiz 1 and will guide you through how to solve Quiz 1. I know the majority of you did well, but however we have few requests on how to solve these questions on Quiz 1. So I'm making this video to explain Quiz 1 and the questions related to Quiz 1, and it's really important because you need to use this material to review for the first exam, second exam, and the final exam, and it would be really nice to understand how we could do these calculations. So let's start with question 1. The present worth of an amount of money that will be received 10 years from now is 10,000. At an interest rate of 8% per year, the value of Y 10 years from now is equal to what? So one thing about the economics and cost analysis, we don't deal with the past, so we need to deal with the current situation or the future situation. So in this question, what we do, we don't really need to deal with the in the past, like 10 years ago, what was the amount of the money. However, it is given to us, it is received $10,000, and we need to find the equivalent for this $10,000 in 10 years from now. So now we did consider P as a $10,000. Interest rate is 8%. And the number of years is 10 years because we need to find what the money equivalent in 10 years as stated in the question. So what I did here, in the textbook there are 3 ways for calculating the present value or the future value. One is using the equations. Second is using the interest rate table. The third is using Excel. So my main goal here is to show you how to do it using Excel. So as we identify all the parameters, all the inputs for this question, what we need, we identify also the needed. And the needed is a future value, FV. The future value, and what we do, we use the financial function FV in Excel to find what would be the future value. Interest rate is 8%, number of years is 10. Now the next parameter, if you see here in this function, you will see highlighted the PMT, which is the payment. We don't have any payment here, so we leave this blank. We don't add any value to that. And the present value, as stated in the question, is 10,000, and that would give you the future value of the 10,000 in 10 years would be equivalent to $21,589. So the answer for this quiz, for this question, is D. Now let's move on to question number 2. Question number 2. Paul invested $10,000 at the time 0 in a mutual fund that guaranteed a return of 5% per year, and after 5 years invested $20,000 in another guaranteed fund at 4.5% return. After 20 years since the first investment, how much money in total he will be having in both funds? So as you see, we do have 2 transactions here. One is a $10,000 at a 5% interest rate. The second one is $20,000 at a 4.5% interest rate. However, the $20,000, we did not put it at the beginning, we put it after 5 years, and we leave it in that fund or in that account for additional 15 years. So let's go ahead and analyze the input for this question. The first input that you need to do is the $10,000. This is a P, this is a present value, and I is equal to 5%, and we let this 10,000 stayed in the account for 20 years. What would be the future value of this amount? We use the FV function using Excel using interest rate of 5%. Number of years is 20. No payment, so make sure that you add another comma here to ignore the payment because we don't have a payment, and the present value is $10,000. And now somebody will ask, why is it a negative $10,000? Because this is money paid, invested, so it's not coming into your pocket. However, it's going out of your pocket, so it's a outflow cash. So it is an out cash that's going out to invested. If you received a gains or a profit coming into your project, that would be a positive. So however, since you invested, you paid this amount, this amount, you have to make it as a negative amount. So the 10,000 is equivalent to $26,532 if we leave this 10,000 for 20 years at the interest rate of 5%. Now the second transaction, which is $20,000, which we invested this amount after 5 years, and we lift that for 15 additional years at 4.5%. We use the same financial function FV to calculate the future value. FV related to future value, and we did use a 4.5 interest rate. Number of years is 15. Payment nothing, and a PV is minus $20,000. And again, why is it a negative $20,000? Because it's out of your pocket. This is a negative. You invested this amount. Once you receive that money back, you could have it as a positive. If you decided to withdraw the total amount, it would be a positive number. But at this moment, a negative amount because you invested this amount. So the total of the money is, if you add the 26,532 plus 38,705, that would give you a total of 65,238. So this would give you the answer for this question would be D. If you're doing this for a homework or a discussion, it would be really nice to highlight the answer in yellow just to give me an idea, and this is the answer. But however, since this is a quiz, you could just select a D and move to the next question. Next question, question number 3. This is a cash flow, so there's no case in this question, but however, this chart will help you to understand the case. So assuming that you're going to invest a P amount, an X amount at year 0, in 10 years you will be withdrawing, you will be adding an additional $2,000, and in 20 years you will be withdrawing $5,000. So as you see the negative, the arrows down here, the arrows will represent a negative amount, and the arrows right here will represent a positive amount. So if the arrow going down, this is a negative amount, this is an investment. If the arrow going up, that would be an income. Cash is coming into your pocket, into your project, into your investment. So calculate the P. Now what we're trying to do, P. So what would be the present value for these two transactions? As you see, we do have two transactions, one at year 10 and the other one on year 20. Year 10 is a negative transaction and a year 20 is a positive transaction. So let's start with the first one. If we have I equal to 9% as listed here in the cash flow, F is equal to 2,000, and the number of years is 10. P is equal to unknown. So what would be the P? PV is equal to the rate, 9%. Number of years would be 10. Payment would be nothing. We don't have any payment here. And the future value, which is because we're going to receive this amount, or we have to deposit this amount in 10 years from now, that would be a future value, so that would be a negative 2,000. So the present value would be 844 for that amount. Now let's move on to the next transaction, which is happening on year 20, and which is withdrawing 5,000. So the future amount on year 20 is 5,000. We need to find what would be the equivalent of this amount on year 0, on the present value. If n is equal to 20 and I is equal to 9%, we use the PV function, the present value function, open parentheses, select the rate to be 9%. In number of periods would be 20 here, because we are 20 years from the present. And then no payment, so make sure that you don't put a payment here because we don't have any payment, and another comma to add the future value of 5,000, and make sure to have this as a one since these two transactions in a different directions, make sure that you have one in a positive and one in a negative, because we need to know what would be the total amount once we reach to the present value. So once you have the total amount, would be adding these two present values together, that would give you a $47.33. The answer for this question would be A. Now moving on to the next question. Here's a more challenging question. We also have a cash flow diagram for this question 4. We don't have any wording other than just asking you to find the unknown, which is A. Determine the unknown value, A. If we have this cash flow, I is equal to 8% is listed on the cash flow. Why this question is challenging? Why? Because we have to we don't have a regular cash flow here. What by regular I mean we don't have an annual payment on year 5, and that's going to be a really challenging and sometimes will mislead you to a different answer. However, there are two different ways to calculate this or to find a solution for this. The first one is we need to move this. The first method for solving this question is to move this transaction in year 5 to year 4. So the 2,000 is a future value. If we're going to move it to year 4, that would be a present. So what I did here, I did find the present value for this 2,000 on year 4. So I did use a PV function, 8%. Number of years, how far we are from year 4. So we are right now on year 5, and we're gonna go back in time to year 4, and that would be 1 year. So we are 1 year away from year 4. There's no payment. The future value would be $2,000, and that would give you $1,851. And now what did I put here? Why did I put as a negative here? Because I want to keep this as a positive cash flow. So what I did, I just moved this value from year 5 to year 4. So I want to keep this transaction as a positive transaction. So I did add a negative in before the PV function to keep the positive transaction, to represent the to represent inflow cash. This is a money coming out in your pocket. Then once we have a regular cash flow, what you should do is using the using the PMT function to find the A. So the PMT function would be equal to PMT 8%. And how many years we need to use this function? We're going to use it over 4 years, so we need to find the payment over the 4 years. So the n equal to 4. Then the next would be the present value. We don't have that yet, so we add another comma just to skip that parameter, and the future value would be whatever amount we received on year 4. And that would be 1851, the amount that we just found. So the answer would be 410. So in this case, you select the option D. Now as I mentioned, there's another way for doing it, and the way for doing this question is to find the present value on year 0 for the $20,000, for the $2,000. So we have a $2,000 on year 5. We need to find the present value for this $2,000 on year 0. So the P at year 0, and then we could use the PMT function to find the A. So PV function, rate is 8%, number of years. So right now we are in year 5, and we need to find the present value at year 0. So that would be 5 years away from each other. And payment, we don't have any payment right now. A future value, it would be $20,000 or $2,000. $2,000. So this would be equivalent to 1361. So now what we do, we use this amount to find the PMT function. PMT function, a rate of 8%. A number of years is 4. And a PV, we use this amount, the 1361, close the parenthesis, and we will find the same answer, 410. So whether you take the 2000 and return it back to the beginning, to year 0, or you return it just 1 year and you use this amount as a future value. If you return it to year 0, you use this as a present value and you use it in your equation. However, there are 2 different ways for doing it, as I mentioned here. But now what the people would say, this is what should it be negative or positive? As you see, these arrows going down, so it has to be negative. So in order to make sense, so what's the positive and negative is just basically you have to use your judgment. Are you going to pay this amount, or you receiving this amount? And by looking into this cash flow chart, you will see this arrows going down, which means that we need to pay this amount. So what I would recommend, I would say, let's add a negative sign here to the before the PMT function, and that would be 410. In the answers here, I did not give you any negative, just to avoid any confusion. Some people, they miss the point of having the negative sign. So if you selected the 410, that would be perfect. However, the correct answer should be a negative 411 to just be accurate. And the reason for that, because these are money that you have to pay on yearly basis, and once you taking this money out of your pocket and you're paying it, or out of your project you're paying it, then that would be a negative amount. Question number 5. Question number 5, it will be about an individual which is to deposit an amount of money now and $100 every year, so that at the end of 10 years $1,500 will have been accumulated. With interest at 2% per year, how much should be deposited now? There are 2 ways for calculating this question, and also this is a challenging question. I want you to challenge yourself and try to be able to calculate and find what would be the answer. So let's list down what would be the parameters, the inputs. So we know that A is $100. The future value, we know that's $1,500 will be received in 10 years. Interest rate is 2% per year. We don't know what's the present value. So the easiest way, and some people, they sometimes use this way. However, I don't prefer using this way, but it will give you the right answer at the same time. So the right answer would be using the PV function, 2%, 10 years, negative $100. That's as a payment. We pay 100 every month minus 100, and that will give you a future value of or the future value would be the 1,500. So when I start preparing this Excel sheet to show you the answers, I wasn't sure if that's going to work or not. And the reason for that, because sometimes this is not a common scenario. So, but however, it did work. So if you use the PV, 2%, 10 years, and a negative 100 because you're paying this, and the future value that you're going to receive 1,500 as a positive, that would give you the right answer. However, this is not my preferred answer. What I would like to do, I would like to use a different way. The way that I'm going to use it here will give you the same answer, but the way that I'm going to use it is find what would be the future value of $100 every year for 10 years. The future value using FV, 2%, 10 years, minus $100, that would give you, this is the future value. So if you deposit 100 every year for 10 years, the future value would be $1,900. $1,094. Now our goal is $1,500. Our goal, this is the goal, to receive $1,500 in 10 years. So what would be the difference? The difference between 1,500 and 1,094 would be equal to $405. $405. Now then, what we need to do, we use this value. This is our goal. So we need to find out how much this $405 equivalent in the present value. So this is a future value, the difference between what you have deposited every year and how much you have to deposit at the beginning. So find the future value for this using the find the present value for the 405, because this is a future value. Find the present value for the 405 using the PV function, 2%, 10 years, no payment, and use this as a future value, and that would give you have to deposit $332. So I'm going to leave you with these two ways for doing it, for calculating the how much you have to deposit at the beginning of the 10 years in order to receive the $1,500. So you select which way makes sense. This is the easiest way, but again, personally, it does not make sense to me because I'm dealing with a function. I wasn't sure if this is going to give me the right answer or not, but this one will make more sense to me because I need to find what would be the equivalent of the $100 over the 10 years, and then find out what's the goal, which is $1,500, subtract the goal from what I have, and whatever the amount left is the future value, and find the present value for that amount. Okay, well, thank you guys, and please let me know if you have any question about the quiz or about the chapter, and I wish you all the best.